Okay, I know it's Friday, and the last thing you want to do is hear from me and, things you need to do. But I thought, these people, they probably just want to work this weekend on annual art. So, I want to make sure that they know how to do this. I'm just kidding. I do not expect y'all to work on this. I just wanted to give this to you just so you are aware. I'm gonna try to breeze through teacher expectations for annual arts on eSped and just highlight what's important and kind of just give y'all some examples of what's good and what's bad. If you want me to come help you, I definitely will. I just know from being a teacher and learning this, it's a lot. And if someone comes and explains it to you, you're like, oh my gosh, like this is crazy. And I know I'm going to forget. So if you want me to come walk you through one, if you're new, and I definitely will. This is just a resource for you to refer to if you forget or if you need just additional guidance. So just bear with me if you already know. And here we go. So the first thing you're going to do is log in. Of course, you're going to go in to special education art forms. Like I said, that's where most of your work is going to be done. You get here, if you go to your campus, you'll have all of your students. And let's say that in, the beginning of next month, we're going to have an art for test student. Okay, so whenever I send out notices, that means that arts are getting close, and I go ahead and create a draft for that student. When there's a draft, that means that that's our plan for the annual art, and we're creating what we're creating for them as we move forward. So when you work, you're not going to want to work in active because that's what we're doing now. You're going to want to go to the draft. So always work in the draft for annual arts, okay? If you have a question about that, just email me. So we're going to click on that, or if I forget to do a draft, because that happens. As teachers I worked with last year, it happens a lot, and they just say, Stringfellow, do the draft, and I'll be like, sorry. Okay, so you're going to go here and then go to I'm writing this student's IEP because that's what we're doing. So we're going to go in and you get on this page. And if you can do this one thing, it would be awesome because I've been trying to, but as I go. But if you could just help me along, that'd be great. Go to case manager and put your name. And then you're going to want to go to if I haven't already, just put diag me. Okay? I mean, if you forget, it's no big deal. But if you remember, that would be so awesome. Okay, so you're going to go here, and a lot of these screens there's a lot. You're not going to use all of them. There's probably 4 or 5 screens you're going to use, and the bulk of it is going to be on 12. Okay, and I'm just going to be honest. This is I would say the most important part of what you do. Anything else, I mean, I can help you with, but this I really can't help you with. You know the kids, you know the teachers. I know of the kids. I know some of the kids just from being a teacher at Pewitt, but I mean, I'm really really relying on you, and I mean, there's a good chance that TA is going to be on our campuses next year, and if not next year, for sure, probably the year after next. So these plans that we're writing right now, that's what they're going to be looking at. So I know that we know the expectations and we know what we need to do, so let's just make sure we're just doing that with fidelity. I know it's crazy and I know we get tired, but let's just really put an emphasis on just doing everything we know to do. And of course, we're going to make mistakes. Everyone does, and that's okay. But let's just do everything that we know how to do to the best of our ability, and we're going to be fine. I'm not even worried about it. So, um, the first thing we're going to do, and I've already done this video once and it messed up, so some stuff's already in there, and I'll just go through. Okay, so this is a good example of a present level. This is, if you don't know what PLAF or present level is, for Pewitt, I sent y'all a document that you can share with your teachers, and I sent a video of how to use that document, of how to get information to put in the ARD. So this is the information that you get from teachers, or that you get if you're that teacher that sees this kid for this area, or you really know the kid in this area. You're getting that information and you're compiling it into paragraph form pretty much. If your teachers give you great information, they're rock stars, then this is going to be so easy for you. On the other hand, if you have a teacher that's really struggling, you may, and first year teachers or whatever, you may have to help them, and that's okay. It's just a little bit more work for you because you're going to have to pull data from files and chase down this information. And if it's really a struggle, you're going to want to talk to your principal and be like, hey, we have to have this. What can you do to help me get this? And really stress to our teachers that, like, this is a must have. Okay. So, and if you want me to have that conversation with your principal, just let me know. And no problem. Okay. So, first of all, I want you to just take notice of they used data points in this. Like, they tell where the student, exactly what the student can do. One reads on second grade level and his accuracy at that level. That's huge. That's something, especially in elementary. I know y'all are high school, so it's going to be a little different, and I'll talk about that in a second. But just having those data points. And then how he can answer comprehension. So not only fluency, but how much he understands what he's reading at that second grade level. That's huge. Okay, so on the flip side, this is a fifth grade student, and when he's given fifth grade material, his reading level drops, which that's to be expected because we know that he's at that second grade level and he's only answering 40 to 50% of those questions correctly. It tells what is expected in that grade level. So that's what the parent wants to know. That's what we need to know when we're planning. Where is this student? They're here. They're here, and the grade level's here. How do we connect that? Okay, so then they break that down, and this can be from a program, or it can be just teacher observations, what you've seen, what you know about, your professional opinion. So he struggles to read with adequate fluency and answer oral comprehension questions accurately on grade level. He needs to improve multisyllabic word decoding, specifically words with da da da. So I've already wrote that down from the previous attempt, and we're gonna use this weakness to make a goal for the student. So the biggest thing I can stress to you is to make sure that you have those strengths and weaknesses like we talked about. Because if you have, this kid, his strength is he's understanding and he's reading at that second grade level. That's great. But we need to push him further. So his weak the like I said in that previous explanation of present levels, we need to figure out what is the major thing that's preventing him from reading at that level. And they said he can't read multisyllabic words, and that makes total sense because in second grade, that word, the difficulty of word is so much less than it's going to be at fifth grade. So we're going to write a goal on that. So this is just a great example of a present level if you want just some guidance here. And I have some more guidance I'll send out. I really don't want to overwhelm you. And this doesn't have to be a college essay. We're just looking at facts and your student, just knowing what you're the professional and Okay. So speech and related services. This student, they were in speech in second grade. I'm just making that up, but we're saying they were, and they don't receive it anymore. And they don't have any related services. We don't notice anything odd. They have good handwriting. No need for OT or PT. So you can just put a brief statement on here. Student does not receive speech related services. There are no concerns in the area of language or any other related service. On the flip side, if there is a concern, note it here. We'll review it in the ARD. And if you say, oh, their handwriting, it looks they're in 10th grade, but you can't read. I mean, it looks, if I pull my son's second grade writing, it looks exactly the same. Maybe we should, we can let the ARD committee look at that and say, you know what, that you're right. Like, why haven't, we've missed that, and we need to look at that. So if you have a concern, please put it here, because, we are going to be reading this. Okay. So the next one is written expression, and here's another great example for a present level on writing. And I say they're great because TEA actually wrote these, so gold standard, I would say. So we need to model that as much as we can, or is imitate as much as we can, I guess. So it's just a different student name. I mean, these are fake names. So Tyrell, fourth grade student. So if you were a fourth grade teacher, you would know, oh, fourth grade, they should be doing da 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 da. So I'm not a fourth grade teacher, so I don't know. But again, Tyrell, fourth grade student, can compose 4 to 5 sentences independently on a single topic. Okay, so that's what he can do. That's his strength in that subject. That sounds great. If I'm a parent, I'm like, wow, he can write 4 to 5 sentences. Even if you can't write an essay, that's a great start. And we have a building point there. That's awesome. He's independent on that. So good. Even so, and so here they're coming in with that weakness. His sentences lack accurate subject verb agreement, and he uses capitalization and punctuation with 50% accuracy. And again, see how they're putting those data points? We know exactly where he is. We know that half of his essay is correct and half of it he's struggling. So, and that could be just you looking at a student's writing and saying, okay, half of this, how many errors do I see? And the teacher should really demonstrate to your teacher, sorry, my phone, that they need to kind of tell you that. So he spells third grade level 1 and 2 syllable incuttable words with 60% accuracy as measured by norm spelling inventory. So pretty much his spelling test, he's making a 60 average. I mean, their sentence sounds great, but that's ultimately what that means. His writing skills affect his ability to complete grade level work and communicate on written form. He needs to improve grammar and spelling skills. So I'm writing that down because they're saying that that's his weakness, grammar and spelling. And if he could complete those, it would help him. That's what his one weakness is that he needs. That's our target. So y'all know that writing is used in every subject. So this is so important. We need to know how are our students doing in writing. Just because they're in high school and they have an ELAR class, we still need to know how are they doing in reading, how are they doing in writing. They're two different things, and they're both so important to their success. So please make sure you're doing that, because if not, we're going to have to go through it in ARD, and it takes a lot longer than if we just do it on the front side. So okay. Functional. Okay, so this is talking about just their skills in school. Like, can they access the environment? Let's say the student has a learning disability. They are able to do everything independently. They don't need monitoring. They don't have behavior issues. So we're going to say student is completely independent in the school environment. He can access all areas of the school independently. And on the flip side, if this is a student that really struggles and he needs monitoring and he needs direction, he forgets his schedule, we're going to want to put that here. This student needs, he frequently forgets his schedule. We're a semester in and he still needs a written schedule because he forgets his classes. We need to know that. That's what we need to know here, because that's a concern. So please just be mindful of those little things. And, teachers may not report it because, especially at our small schools, we think, oh, that's just so and so. But, that's who they are. And we know how to support them without documenting. But let's say tomorrow that this student moves to Dallas ISD, or a huge school, in Dallas or in San Antonio or Houston, and they don't know him. And all they have on the student is this paperwork, and they don't know that he struggles to find classes at a small school. They don't know that he can't remember his schedule. Um, you know, that would be detrimental. So just please make sure you're noting that. That way, there's a clear trail when if something like that's happening, because you never know. So it's my soapbox. I'm gonna go to behavior. So behavior, I just put a brief statement. Like we're just pretending this kid has no behavior concerns. If they did, you would note them. If you can get a behavior write up from like a copy of it from your assistant principal and bring it to the ARD, you could just say, see attached discipline write ups. You can summarize them. You can summarize what's going on in class. Maybe they don't have write ups, but the teacher says, every day this is happening. It's happening all day long. And we just deal with it because we know the student. But like I said, we need to make sure that we're documenting because if that's happening, we need to support those teachers just in case. We need to support the student because they need to understand. We're trying to prepare them for life after high school. So let's just be mindful of every document with fidelity. Okay. Okay. And now I'm going to show you a bad example. So let's say in math, and we don't get, we've had a staff turnover at both districts. So we have a lot of new teachers in that. I'm not knocking that because, there's some great new teachers, but at the same time, it's so overwhelming. Even for the rock stars, it's a lot. Any job in education that first year is rough. So, of course, we're going to give them like a little leniency because we know and we've been there and we understand. And they may not understand this, so this is something that you'll have to check in. But if this is the only data you get and it's not that great, please just follow up face to face and, just take your computer or a piece of paper and write down what you need and then put it in. And then you can just say, this was collected in a meeting. So instead of or if you need your principal to, step in, whatever. That's your choice, and I'll help you any way I can too. So we have math. So let's just say teacher, let's just call this student. Student is not able to do 10th grade math. He is failing with a 60 and does not attempt any work. Okay, and then let's say that's all you get because I'm not, and I know. Sometimes that's all you get. They'll just say does not complete work, making a 60. You can't do it. Okay. Um, I'm gonna just jump out there and say we're aware. We're aware that they can't do it. So what are you doing? So we're gonna say you're gonna want to know on recent benchmarks or test. What can he do? What do other students? What are they able to do? Um, so this would be your strength. And then what is that one skill? Like, what is it that is just that one? Sometimes there's multiple major things. Let's just try to narrow it down to one. So let's say this student can't perform two-step equations at all, and they're in algebra 2, and they're on the struggle bus. So they can't perform two steps equations. Our first thing is the teacher giving them their accommodations? Do they know how to use the calculator? That calculator is complicated. So they can't perform two-step equations. Are they using their calculator? Do we need to break that down into one step? So just try to get as much data as you can. Any assessment that they've given, I'd put that in there, and then say, not only what did that student make, but what was the average of the grade? So let's say this student, he made a 60%, and I know I'm not writing this good, I'm just trying to hurry. He made, let's say, a 40% on recent assessment. Okay, that sounds pretty bad. But then we say, okay, what was the average grade for everyone who's taken Algebra 2 this year? And we find out that's a 55. All of a sudden, that doesn't sound near as bad. And when we're explaining that to a parent and they see that 40, I mean, that's upsetting. They're like, wow, like they're not being successful. But then all of a sudden, when we see that the class average was 55%, so maybe that's just a topic that everyone struggled with or they need more guidance on, all of a sudden that parent feels like, oh, okay, that's not just, he's not just, it's not just him. You know, they're going to go back and they're going to reteach that because it's just a class wide issue. It's not, you know, it's not him. So make sure that we're including that. I mean, that's really important. What he can do. I mean, it may not be grade level tasks that he can do, but there's things that the student can do for sure. And if this teacher cannot tell you one single thing, you're gonna need to go in that room and kind of, observe and see what's going on. Because if this kid can't even, do basic addition, then they can't use a calculator, then we need to look, what's going on. We need to, I mean, why are they in this class? So, really just let's be observant there. They can do something. And I know that. I know they can. And then what do other students complete? So while this kid, like, for example, if we said what he can do, he can complete one-step equations with 90% accuracy. He's got that down. But the other students, they're working on two steps and quadratic formula and, I'm trying to think of some algebra terms. It's been a while. So they're working on those things. So our goal is going to be how do we get this student from these one-step equations, which is like Algebra 1 8th grade, to two-step. And, this student may not master high-level Algebra 2, but if we can go from one step to two-step this year, that's success for him because it sounds like he's really struggling. So make sure if you just have this one line present level, that really tells me nothing. I have no idea. He's failing. What is everyone failing? What can he do? Like, I don't need to know, like, are they passing, are they failing? What can they do compared to other students and on grade level TEKS? Okay. Sorry. And I know this section was long, but it seriously is the most important. It's the most important thing in the whole meeting. So I want to do a kind of tell you like how the ARDs will work, but pretty much when you come to an ARD, print those out, and I'm going to say, hey, let's talk about how they're doing in class. And I want you to go over all of these things because, sadly, we can't have all of these teachers in the meeting because they're switching 8 times a day. We can't have everyone in there. So it's your job to kind of talk about the information you've gotten from all these teachers and be an advocate for them and the student and talk about this is what they're seeing, this is where we are, and this is where we want to be. Okay? So print these off and you're going to go over all of these areas. And that'll happen when I say, okay, we're going to talk about how they're doing in class. And of course, the teachers that are in there, they can offer input on their area and kind of just talk about, other things like social and, behavior and those things. But you are the content expert for the student and you need to be an advocate for them and really talk about this is where we are based on data sources, and this is where we want to be based on not just our feelings, but data sources. Okay. Transition. I'm going to cover all this because I just want to. And so, okay, so we get to skip a lot here. Yay! The next thing that you're going to do. Well, I said skip a lot. I'm sorry. Goals. First, I'm going to delete this one because it's old. And if there's anything old in here, you can delete it in the draft. If there's anything printed, like if there's anything in the prints and label boxes, delete it. Because this is our working document. This is what we're planning to accept. So we know two weaknesses, and I'm not even going to go into that math one, but we're going to talk about the two that the TEA talked about. And I'm just going to create a goal, not TEA's goal. I'm just going to do one, and I'll show you how quick it is, and it's not difficult. And when you're here, you don't have to have a goal in every subject. You only have to have one goal total. But if you have a student who's really struggling in every area they're really struggling in, you need to have a goal. If data shows they need a goal, they need a goal. If data shows they're rocking along and they don't really, in algebra 2 and they're passing and there's really no concern, we're not going to have a goal there. We're not going to have a goal just because they have a STAR test or an EOC. No, just if there is a concern and we're trying to help that student get somewhere, and they're below grade level, and we're trying to raise them. So the goal does not have to be on grade level. Okay, it's individualized to that student. What does that student need? So we know that they said that in reading they needed help with multi-syllable words, and in writing they needed grammar. So let's just say one, and the art is on October 1st. So we're going to go to October 1st. That's when it starts, and the goal end date is going to be the day before October 1st, so September 30th of next year. So that's when the art's due, next year. So from that date, 1 year out. And we're going to just go ahead and say accepted by the art committee so that it will print. And if it's not accepted, we'll change it in the art. But go ahead and click that, and it's academic. Okay. Language is English. Goal focus. So the first one was reading. And the grade level, we said this is a 10th grade student. You can use these, and it kind of just sets it up for you. Find TEKs if they're on grade level. The key thing is, if they're not on grade level, you got to be careful because we're individualizing this. If they're working on something on grade level, why is there a goal? That's what everyone's doing. This is individualized for this student. So we're going to say in 36 instructional weeks. So that means by the next art date. By the next art date, when I just like the topics, it's easier. When given all accommodations and supports identified in the IEP, student will be able, or let's say first, we have to say when given a passage on the student's given a passage with 10 multisyllabic words on the student's grading instructional reading level. So their independent reading level and their instructional is different, because instructional it means when you're sitting there and it's challenging. Independent means they can read it with mastery. They're not struggling, because if they're reading something they don't understand, or they can't read very fluently, then it's not really helping them for comprehension purposes. So on the instructional level, so you're sitting right there, the student will be able to correctly, or let's say fluently, read the passage with 90% accuracy on the multisyllabic words. So you're focused on, I know I butchered those. So that means that for this specific goal, you're just focusing on when those 10 words that are in there with multi-syllables, that they get at least 90% of them correct. So the person that's going to be Oh my gosh, my phone is just blowing up. Okay, so um, the gen ed and or the special ed teacher can do this, and we're going to say observations, data collection, because it's academic, and then concurrent with the issuance of report cards, because we send these home with report cards every time. Okay, save. I mean, there you go. It looks great. It's measurable, has a percent. We can. I mean, if they walk into a different school, we know exactly what they would know exactly what we want in 36 weeks when they're given their accommodations, the support, and a passage with 10 multisyllabic words on their reading instructional reading level. They will be able to read the passage with 90% accuracy on those words. And I know I kind of butchered that, but I'm trying to hurry. There's probably some comma spasses in there. Sorry, guys. Okay, so we know reading, and then the other area was writing. And remember, they said grammar and spelling was that weakness. That they improved that. So we're going to do the same thing. The ARD is on 10-1, and we're going to go a year out. So 2020 back to September 30th. Accepted, academic, for an English, and we're doing writing. So it may not even be on there. But if you want to just do English, language arts, or for both of them, you can put ELAR because that covers both. They're in 10th grade. So we're going to say when given, I would look for, see, by the end of 36 instructional weeks, comma, when given a writing assignment, and they're in general ed for this, so we can say in the general education classroom, given a, let's change it to grade level because this student, they're doing grade level writing, but they're just doing a little bit less because that's just what they know how to do, so that's okay. So when given a grade level writing assignment in the general education classroom, the student will complete the writing task with, let's say, right now they're at 50% grammar and spelling accuracy. I mean, let's say 70%. If we're focusing on that heavily, I don't want to put something super high like 90%. Let's do attainable. 50 to 70, that's huge. So 70% accuracy on grammar and spelling. I'm sorry. I feel like okay. And we can, if you want to, you can say as measured by it's pretty self-explanatory. I feel like you're looking at their essay and marking all grammar mistakes and seeing if that 70% of them are correct. Well, there may be a better way to work that. I'm gonna think on it, and if it's obvious, I'm sorry. So again, gen ed, special ed, or you can say gen ed, special ed, or staff. If there's an aide in there, that might help y'all out. Aides can, paraprofessionals can collect data and you can report it. That is totally awesome and fun. So, which reminds me, I need to do something else. Concurrent, boom. We are done with goals. Okay, they don't have to be long. Those are short, easy to measure. They're measurable. 70% on that. 90% on those multi-syllable words because there's only 10. And if they're reading if we're increasing that fluency, I feel like that's attainable. But if it's not for the student, then you would just change that to a different percentage. Okay, accommodations. Okay, so I'll edit this page, and I know that we've been putting accommodations in this box, but we're changing how we're doing this, so don't no longer put them here. okay? Because remember, we're just topping them out because a lot of times it's not clear and it gets forgotten, and then it changes and those remain. It's just not clean. So we're going to put them here on page 19. So if they never have had them put on this page, it's a little bit different. You can either do custom subjects or you can do a bundle. So these are already put in. So you can do all. Never mind. Let's just do, we can have one for all and the abbreviation. You had to put an abbreviation. It won't let you add accommodations until, so we can do core. Why did I do that? Whatever. Okay, core. So that would be like reading, math, English, science. I think that's your preference. That's y'all's baby. Core is being used for class set. What? Okay. Core default. We can have them for athletics. Let's say they have asthma or something. I don't know. Science. Let's say they have some that are just for English. Elective. That can be your CTE. So now we have our accommodations. And if there is an accommodation you use all the time, tell me and I can get it added to this list and it makes it way faster than you typing it in. I just didn't really know what to put. So because I'm not sure, what y'all want. So just tell me. So behavior support. We know this student's a rock star, so we don't have to put behavior support. But sometimes, these things fall under behavior support. They're not a behavior problem, but at the same time, we do have to remind them to stay on task. So we're going to say that, and then you're going to check, is it in core? Is it all? We're going to say all. Okay, classroom accommodations. They need shortened assignments, and if you hold control, you can do multiple. Let's say they need all those. You add them to the list. We're just going to add everything that we need before required equipment. This is not going to be for y'all. High school, everyone gets a calculator, but in the early grades, students with disabilities can get one, but they have to, it's a long story, so it's not for y'all. But if someone from junior high is watching this, you can click this 5th grade through 8th grade. Different grade levels have different calculators and they can use them in class and in the STAR test. So we just worded it like that so that when they move up a grade, that we know that calculator may change. So there it is. And if they do have other required equipment, like an inhaler, let's say required equipment, add custom, say inhaler provided or in nurse's office if needed. So we add that. And we're going to say in athletics and electives, because this student, we're just going to say they're in ag and they go outside sometimes, and that ball, that can trigger it. So there we go. I mean, that's rare, but I'm just saying, just in case. So we're saying that's all they need. Of course, there's more things you can add. Again, if there's something you want me to add to the drop downs, let me know. I will do that ASAP. So, looks great. Most of the time in high school, they won't change. If they do change, we'll talk about it in honor. But yeah. Okay, so accommodations looks great. We're going to skip all these. We're going to skip here. We're going to go down to STAR. So 27. When you get here, this is only for 3rd through 8th. This will be high school. So the current year is 1920. We're going to go ahead and do both of these. The student is in 10th grade. We've met, they didn't pass it, and the art committee, we know that they said they're not taking it, so we said they met that participation requirement. We are not retesting. We're done. He's done with that. We don't do algebra 2. Biology, we're going to say they're going to take it. So they're taking STAR. And we're not even going to address this because we don't know yet. They're taking it this year. Let's let's say that they passed this test last year, so we're done. They're going to take English 2, they're a 10th grader, so we're going to say star, and we're going to leave it blank, because we don't know how they're going to do. Okay. English 3 we don't do. And US history, I think that's 11th grade. Not sure. So we're just going to say not yet. But if they do take it, 10th grade to address it. So, okay, pretty simple. And then you go to the STAR accommodations. You're going to want to put what they're using in class, so these should pretty much match what's happening in the classroom. You can do an additional beyond what you do on the STAR test in class, but not vice versa. You can't do more than what you're doing in class. So we're going to add they receive, I should have added that to the other. I might have extra time, and they're taking English, and they're taking, is that all they're taking? Is it science too? Okay. Small group, because they have that we have the reminders to stay on task. They're getting those questions read to them. Okay, and then English, you have to do it separately because it's different what they can read. So this one says read parts per student, and that means like the student can ask, I think, test question. No reading selections. Yeah. So we're going to say revising the reference material. Okay. So they're getting that because they need that reading support. Science. These are the online only. So we did not say the student's taking online. So you need to be very mindful. If you say online, you're going to do the online accommodations. You do the paper, you're going to say the paper accommodations. So these are all online. Okay, so these are English ones. So we didn't put this on their accommodations, but let's say, oh, you see this, you're like, oh, they are using that frequently misspelled. You're going to click here, go back to classroom, and add it there. Okay, these are all, when you scroll down, you're going to see all the alt 2. So that's our alternate assessment. If they're, that's going to be more of your self-contained students. So that's not this student. So, okay. And then there's more here, and these are pending TA approval, and there's just different things. So we're going to add everything that we checked, and we're going to return, and this is what it should look like. They're writing, and there's biology, okay? So there may be more, and then you can kind of just read. And if there's anything here, delete it, because we're doing it on this. We're not doing it in here anymore, because this is approved by TEA. We want it to look clean. We want it to be legal, so we're using that. Okay, so you can skip all this, and we're going to go here. This student, oh yeah, I put them in the life skills, algebra 1 all day. It's not helping because they're still struggling apparently. Okay, so this is where you're going to put resource. You don't put gen ed times, only special ed times. So let's say that this student, they're in all gen ed classes. They've been pretty successful. They need support, but no resource. If they have study skills in special ed, you put it here. Okay, so this student, they don't get any special ed like time. And you're thinking, oh, inclusion or content mastery does not go here. That is going to go here. This is where inclusion goes. So you just say new, and then you say in class or inclusion support, in class support, or you can add it. Okay. I would prefer that you didn't say inclusion in core, because what does core mean? To some people, core means math, science, social studies, and English. And then some people say core means just math and English because those are tested. So let's really specify this student, they need it in math. And if you already have it in and you want the same amount of time, you can clone it. And you can say inclusion support and say inclusion support in ELAR. Okay, and we're saying 20 minutes 3 times a week. It doesn't have to be every day. It can be once a week. It can be every day. It can be whatever you want it to be. Okay, whatever they need, not what you want it to be. I'm sorry. So we know that they struggle a little bit more in ELAR than they do in math. So we're going to say 4 times a week. And the start date, you're just going to do, if you click this, it should work. But on this one, it didn't because I haven't went in and, I mean, it's not real and the dates are old. So you're going to just do the first day, 10-1-2019, that's the R date, until September 30th, 2020, one day before next year. Save. Make sure you have those dates. That one didn't. So let me edit it. So 10-1-2019 to 9/30-2020. Okay. Inclusion looks awesome. Let me make sure. Learning Lab. Okay, so Learning Lab, that's your content mastery at Hewitt. I don't know if I think Dangerfield just is content mastery. Let's say this kid gets about 15 minutes a week. You know, they just come in, get a test read, group, and we say that's in the special ed room. And we put our dates 10-1-2019 to 9. And those dates aren't going to be the same for everyone. The only reason those are the dates is because the ARD is on 10-1. So you put the ARD date to the next year. Saving. Okay. So that's what their schedule looks like. They don't have resource time. So that's it there. And that's all that you have to do. So the present levels, which was on 12, the accommodations on 18, the goals on 17, the STAR on 27, the accommodations on 28, and the schedule starts on 38 and 40. Once you got that, you're done with the student, you're ready for the ARD. I do everything else. We get in there. I'm going to be going through this. So what's going to happen is when we get there, I'll be like, when we get to this, I'm going to say, okay, can you talk about Miss So-and-so, can you talk about how they're doing in class? And you're going to review all this and add anything else that is applicable. Then I'll be like, okay, we're going to talk, kind of talk about, did they master their goals last year? Yes, hopefully. If not, if they didn't master them, I forgot to say this, that they need to be continued. So they're mastered. And I'll be like, okay, great. Can you go over what we plan to accomplish this year? That means goals. So you're going to just review this. And you can print these pages just by pressing preview and it'll print it. And they'll say, okay, we're going to talk about what we're offering, how we're supporting the student in class through accommodations. Then I'll be like, did anything change? And you're going to say, no, it's all the same as last year. Or you're going to say, no, it's all the same except we added the inhalers in the nurse's office just so it's on paper. And I'll be like, and then I'll say, okay, do you have any, is that okay with everyone? Does everyone agree? Parent, is that okay? Do you have any questions? And they'll, hopefully they're like, no, that's great. Okay, start. And I'm like, okay, well, there's a few things between it, but then your next piece, I'll be like, okay, we're going to talk about the dreaded STAR test. And what do you, I'm going to be like, okay, teachers have recommended that they take, and I'll probably just say these things. I mean, is this current? And then I'll be like, can you go over their accommodations for a STAR? And then you'll review this. You'll just kind of read through it, or if it didn't change from last year, you'll be like, it's still the same, but we added this because they were successful within class. I'll be like, perfect. Then there's a few more things I have to do, and then when we get to schedule, I'll be like, okay, we're going to talk about what their schedule looks like. And the only changes we're not doing, we're talking about gen ed because that's something that everyone does. We're only listing special ed. So I'm gonna say, well, it looks like, or you're gonna say, whoever, like, their schedule right now, they're all in gen ed. Let's talk about how we're gonna support them. And then at that time, you would say, okay, well, they go to content mastery usually about 15 minutes once a week. So and then inclusion in these areas for this much time, because that I think that's what we need to accomplish their goals. And I hope, and I'll be like, okay, this, do y'all agree? Parent, what do you think? Hopefully everything's just, that sounds awesome. Um, and then we go through, I'll have to go through a few more things, and then we get to the end, and that's it. So I hope this didn't overwhelm you too much. I know it is a lot, but at the same time, this is I feel like this is a very thorough explanation, and I hope it answers any questions. And if not, just let me know. This is exactly what I'm going to expect you to have done, and that's exactly how I'll go through it, and like how I'll refer to it to you and ARD. And if you have any questions, or you're worried about it, or you want to know if it looks good, or you think there's a better way, please let me know, and I'll get with you through email, or I'll come over. So really, thank y'all. I really appreciate everything that y'all have done, because we really have had a good first start of the year, and I hope that y'all have too. So thank you.